All right, we're going to dissect a little bit more of that interview I just did with UFO whistleblower David Grusch. Lawmakers, as we've said, have watered down rules in the defense bill that would have released information to the public about government UFO projects. Grusch is vowing to press on with his campaign to get more secrets out to the public. And for the first time, he says he does have firsthand knowledge of the government UFO program. So joining us now is News Nation's special correspondent Ross Coulthart. He was the first to interview David and brought the world all of his revelations. Ross, what do you know anything about this firsthand information that he has? He says he's writing and going to release in the next week or so some sort of op-ed with new firsthand information. Do you know what he's talking about?
I do. Yeah, I've got a pretty good idea, Elizabeth. And hello once again. I'm actually very excited that you've managed to pull that out of him because I've been waiting for a while for him to provide a rejoinder to the critics who've constantly asserted that there is no first-hand evidence. I can't talk with any specificity because I frankly don't know. I suspect it's something to do with either photographic or video material that he may have seen, but I'm only speculating. But I just want to emphasise as well, for the people who say that there is no first-hand evidence involving David Grusch, they miss the significance time and time again of the finding made by the Inspector General of the intelligence community when he referred David Grusch's matter to Congress for investigation, that Mr. Grusch's allegations were credible and urgent. Yeah. And he based that not just on Mr. Grusch's allegations, but on the first-hand evidence of multiple witnesses, in fact, dozens of witnesses who've since come forward over the past 2 years to give evidence to Congress. So there is a multiple number of witnesses that have come forward to Congress. And the maddening, frustrating thing is that we're now hindered by virtue of this gag put through on this legislation. There's no longer going to be this presidential records review panel that would have allowed us the opportunity to get this information slowly declassified.
Yeah, like right now, Ross, anybody can just say, oh, that violates national security, take that one out. We can't. I mean, Ross, it comes back to, I deliberately read that quote from Congressman Moskowitz from Florida to David Grusch, because he wasn't at first a believer in this. He thought it was all like nonsense. But once he was convinced that there is something there, because every time he asked questions and started, as he said, pull on a thread, we got stonewalled. In other words, this enormous effort to shut everything down seems to have actually had the unintended effect of creating a few more believers.
There are 2 points to make from that, Elizabeth. Firstly, as you pointed out in your interview with David, if there's nothing to hide, why did they fight so hard to stop legislation that would have allowed transparency? And the second issue is, frankly, that we are going to see now the coming forward of people who the government can't control. Here was an opportunity for the president and for the congressional leadership to take a leadership role in ensuring that probably the biggest story in human history is properly told and given proper custodianship by the US government, which after all, frankly, I'll say it black and white, has presided over a cover-up for much of the last 70 to 80 years. And here was a unique opportunity from very senior people on both sides of the Congress to get legislation that would have allowed the controlled disclosure of information. And I know a lot of people say it's a very naive idea, but I can tell you, I spoke to senators, I spoke to congressmen, congresswomen, and there was a real willingness to see this brought out into the open. Yeah. I think what's happened is the Pentagon has won, and so have sections of the defense aerospace industry that frankly don't want to have to disclose what they know because they're frankly worried about getting into trouble.
Ross Coulthart, so interesting. We'll have much more with David tomorrow night when he'll take on those critics who've attacked him, and more on those medical records that were leaked in an effort to impugn his credibility. So great to see you again, Ross. Thank you.
It's a real pleasure. Thank you.